My name's Catherine McElhone. I'm the Research Impact Facilitator at the University of Technology, Sydney. And so what I'm going to be talking about is shifting mindsets towards research impact. So to get started, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm on the Gadigal, the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay respect to elders past and present, and recognizing them as the custodians of knowledge. So, I want to start with a statement. Universities improve lives through research, teaching, and engagement. I think there's not really any part of our life that isn't touched by research, and also teaching and engagement. But today I'm going to be talking about why we aren't better at sharing the story of realized research impact. Something that we live in an age of marketing, the marketing era, where it's on to the next thing, it's on to the next grant, it's on to the bigger and better things. And the thing that I come up against in my work as research impact is looking at looking backwards. So what happened with the money that was provided for certain grants, or what have we done to show that impact? So in terms of kind of introducing myself, so of course I would say that universities are important and things like that, because I sit within a university and I work for a university. So my role was formalised after the 2018 Engagement and Impact Assessment. So for a lot of people who've been in the university sector for a while, they'll know what that is. I also sit within a team of research knowledge and insights. And so what we do is national assessments, amongst other things, reporting for government, reporting for university, data analytics, all those fun things. My background's in information management, so we work closely with the library team here, and looking at publications, but definitely my focus is on impact. The idea of a third mission university is very core for UTS. So the history of UTS is that we used to be a technical college, and then we became a university in the late 80s. So that really kind of translation focused work is very much embedded in our core. But also for myself, I'm very much in terms of the impact agenda, into the encouraging and enabling side of research impact rather than the metrics and measurement space. But also that leads to the beeline for knowledge sake. So just, yeah, again, a bit of a history of this is, so in 2018, published in 2019, we made these Impact at UTS podcast, and that podcast was reflecting on, examples of impact at UTS, but also giving kind of tangible ideas for researchers to be able to embed impact in their work. And as you can see, by 2019, we thought we were out of COVID. We didn't know, it was pre-COVID, but then when we were publishing those podcasts, we kind of thought, oh, we're navigating the world and its relationship to impact, and little did we know what was unfolding there. And so going forward 6 years and looking back at those examples of impact and the way that we were trying to connect with communities, I really feel like this space changed drastically, and became even more pronounced after that time. And now, so UTS has just published the UTS 2030, and one of the key pillars is connected and engaged universities. It's also brought together the teaching and learning and research space, which for me, in terms of research impact, is really core. So just before I go too much further, I just want to talk about some definitions. So the definition of research impact that I'm using is the contribution to beyond academic research. So we're not talking about citations, obviously, and then also talking about mindset. So that's the attitudes or fixed ideas. And in the that definition, there's the addition of difficult to change. So as I mentioned before, because we're in this like marketing era, a lot of universities and researchers will talk about the perspective. That's what I can do. Give me more money and I'll do this. Whereas what I'm talking about is that retrospective. This is exactly what happened, what has been, how that's had impact on communities. And also another thing of what that impact looks like is impact as defined by those community user groups. Something that I heard someone say once that I really like was impact is like beauty, it's in the eye of the beholder. And that's something that we really carry here at UTS in terms of defining what that impact looks like. So in terms of the landscape, so on the left we have, my own university and the, huge restructure that's happening here. And then on the right, it'll be, no surprise to people around what's happening in the US. So this is kind of painting the picture of, the higher education, the way that knowledge is translated, trusted, how we interact with it is very much under question. And the way that we move through the world is very much in a changing environment. But something that I've personally working in this space and being able to embed in terms of changing this idea of changing mindsets is being able to share examples and stories of research impact as hope. And so this is kind of in terms of for my own work, but also the way that I move through the world is being able to point to these ways in which research is providing hope and opportunity, and it being evidence-based and things like that is something that I would, kind of say to this research support community is when you do have examples and you hear about research impact, really share them, talk about them, make it a kind of North Star for yourselves, because that's kind of why we're doing this. It is why we're doing it, but being able to have these ways of being able to point to exact examples rather than this kind of broad, yes, of course I do it because research has benefit, but having these really key examples and being able to kind of drop down into those, what it actually means, I really think is important. So in terms of, so going back to the, what this talk is about changing this mindset to research impact. And this diagram will be probably very familiar for people who work in research support. So it's very much the preparation of the submission, the contract negotiation, the commencement, you've got the project, commencement of the project, closure, great, you're done, you're on to the next one. Obviously looking at this, it's very dry and there's nothing to do with impact, and it's just like on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. And so I think this is often in terms of research support, sometimes we really like some parts of the university will really just be focused on this. And so something that I really like is this is a designing for social impact, which was developed by some great researchers at Monash University, including Lisa Grocott and Wade Kelly. And this is an adapted model of the Kellogg's model of impact. And it really, for me, shows that kind of how you can embed different, in terms of as you move through the research life cycle, how you can think about impact and changing that mindset to be focused on impact. and how important that is all the way through your activities and the way that you kind of work with researchers, but also the research for themselves. So then going on to kind of, again, changing mindset and work that I've been doing at UTS and with lots and lots of other people, is being able to kind of take this systems thinking approach of the ways that we can change impact to be closely embedded. And the reason for doing this is research impact is often thought about in some cases as this kind of add-on, something that's done out of hours, something that's done, is either a nice to have or done out of hours, or just an extra thing. And so as much as possible, because obviously, academic workloads is insane, and resources are always being crunched. So this list of kind of things that we've done are, and I'm not going to have time to go through all of them, so please, I've got my contact details at the end. So if any of these kind of spark anything for anyone, please reach out. But some of the core things is just putting it into the current ways of working, and like I was saying, taking that systems thinking approach. So we've got academic profiles, we have impact statements, and that being on the realized impact take of that. Figshare was something that we implemented last year, and for us it was really simplifying that DOI process and the way, and giving non-traditional outputs a way of what they the way that they deserve to be shared and celebrated. Research impact case study development and initiatives. So that's the really how did it happen? What was your pathway to impact? What planning did you put in place? What did happen? And then we have these really beautiful documents, or some cases not so beautiful, but these documents which then can be reused for promotion cases and work proposals and lots of different ways, and shared with the marketing team, but also shared with leadership. And so that recognition piece is super important. And we also have engagement and impact planning and project proposals. So really, again, embedding it in the process and in the systems. Another one is the impact reflection in project closure. So project closure was something that wasn't done particularly well here, and then over the last couple of years we've been able to embed that, and so then what happens is people are able to get follow-up in the way that they when their projects finish. We also have engagement and impact KPIs for faculties, which then relates to promotion criteria. So again, impact is really part of the process. Discipline-specific expertise is a key one, and that also goes to, at the bottom, having that advisory committee and impact leadership. So with the working group and different people looking at this, we're able for it to be tailored. So that kind of leads me to this, this last one of, we don't have a national framework. Going back to the engagement and impact assessment, we don't have a national framework. So how do we, for me at first I thought, oh no, it'd be really nice to have a framework, because then we'd be able to hang everything off and it would all be really nice. But then now, it's been a couple of years since the ARC have said, it's under review. Instead, there's actually, I feel like, this opportunity where there's to be cooperative, or the word co-opetition, which is the concept of cooperation and competition. So whether it's better to actually join forces, even though some university, we're seen as competitors, if we can share resources and enable impact, it's that's how we're going to be able to solve some of the, the world's problems. Otherwise, we'll constantly just be able to, compete against each other with reducing resources. But yeah, if we're able to come together. So that's the kind of benefit of not having a national framework. There's also something that I've noticed in this time is we've been able to reflect on things like integrity and diversity and the depth of the impact through relationship building and really putting focus on that. Whereas if we look to the UK and the national the research excellence framework, the REF, there's some kind of very poor behaviours that happen in some of those cases where people are claiming impact from community groups or organisations, and it's because it's so tied up with money. So this is kind of the optimistic the optimistic take on not having that framework in place. So then just to finish off, there's a quote from Kathy Foley, who obviously was the last chief scientist. And she says, yeah, discovery happens in small teams, but innovation and impact needs bigger teams. We need to coalesce around common goals and concentrate our efforts to get that critical mass. So like I was saying, climate change, misinformation, food security, mental health, social isolation, that's not going to be one university or even one team working together. That is a global kind of coalescing that's going to be able to have this impact and also and make that change happen. Thank you. So yeah, I think these slides get shared, but yeah, please feel free to reach out and join. We have a network of special interest groups, and yeah, always happy to chat. Thank you.